Hello, I'm Ajahn Jyoti Paulo. Welcome to Sauntering into Silence. Out here with all these beautiful colors, blues and greens, and I don't know what this is. Today I had my fourth and final treatment with Matthew and acupuncture. And afterwards we were kind of exchanging notes and talking about different modes of healing. And I remembered Bhante Dharmawara was a Cambodian monk who was staying at the city of 10,000 Buddhas near Abhayagiri just as I started monastic life. I was still in white as an anagarika.
There is nothing impossible in this world. But of course, we have to open our mind and our heart and see all around us whether how far the present day education has brought us. It is not enough. It is not sufficient. It is what you call half done, half baked man. That's what it has been making.
Half-baked man.
Yes.
I remember we were going over to visit him in the backyard. He had all these bottles, glass bottles that were all different colors, like greens and blues and yellows, and they were filled with water, sort of sitting out in the sun. And I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, but I just looked it up online, and he was known for a therapy. I don't know if he started it, but it was called chromotherapy. And he had these theories about different colors had different healing qualities. And so what it said online was like green was just a natural color.
Meditating on color. We have selected to meditate on this green color because we feel that this color is the most important among all the 7 colors of the solar spectrum. It is a balancing color. It stands in the mid between those who belong to the hot side and those who belong to the cold side. And that is one thing. Another thing, where there is greenness, there is life, there is energy, there is freshness, and there is safety. Now let's meditate.
I remember one time I was out here canoeing with Ajahn Sona, and I was mentioning to him that I think green really sort of calms me down and makes me feel good. And he pointed out that the color blue is just a really powerful color. And when he mentioned that, I was like, I think he's right, because when I'm in out here on the same days, still the green will be here, but on days when it's overcast and cloudy, I don't get that same sort of energy. So I do think that blue is this really energizing, beautiful color. So yeah, it's just quite interesting just remembering Bhante Dharmawara. What I also remember about him was he passed away in Stockton, California, and we were going back and forth to visit him, do chanting for him, and receiving his teachings too. It was really powerful, though. It was actually the day, I think, of Ajahn Karunadamo's bhikkhu ordination. And we got a call from the city of 10,000 Buddhas that he had slipped into a coma. And so we rushed to get over there, but because he had very explicit instructions that he did not want to go to the hospital. But just as we got there, they were taking him to the hospital. And then for 2 or 3 days, we were going and doing healing chants, blessing chants for him beside his bed, and he was always just unconscious. I think it was the third visit we went to. I remember walking into the room, and it looked like he was in the same state, and we kind of knelt down at the side of the bed, and we're getting ready to start chanting, and he opened his eyes. And Ajahn Pasna was sitting right next to him, and I remember Bhante didn't really notice, but he was like kind of looking down at his wrists because he had all these tubes coming out of his nose and down into his arms. And that was the first thing he noticed, was these tubes. He didn't say anything, but as he looked down to his side at the veins, the tubes, he noticed Ajahn Pasna was sitting there. And his first comment was, "How can I help you?" It wasn't like, "Hey, what's going on with these tubes? What am I doing in a hospital?" It was, "Oh, somebody's here to see me. They must have a problem." So he was, asking that. And then he kind of looked around the room and he noticed there were half dozen of us. And so he just immediately turned to his other side, which his attendant was sitting there. And his first response, Nick's response was, "Get some chairs, get them refreshments. Like, we have guests. Like, what are you doing?" And things kind of settled down. And after a few minutes, I noticed he looked down at his wrist. And then he looked over his attendant and was like, what's going on? I always took, right from the very beginning of my training, just seeing somebody who was, I think he'd been a monk for 70 years, because I think he ordained when he was 40 in the forest tradition in Cambodia. But yeah, someone dedicating, that much time in the robes, just his first reaction to, being in a hospital is, how can I help you? Really powerful Dhamma lesson right from the beginning. So share that story. I've been doing some research about Bhante Dharmawara. There's not much about him online, so I've written a bunch of senior monastics that I know who appear in some pictures with him, and I found a couple other people who've written some books. So I'm going to, for a while here, start doing a lot of research on him, and I hope to convey some more stories about Bhante Dharmawara. Thanks for watching.